Good morning. Globally, markets and policymakers are bracing for a sharper energy and security shock as the US-Iran confrontation escalates around the Strait of Hormuz. The Financial Times reports the last pre-conflict tankers are now reaching Asia, with warnings that oil shortages could soon spread to the US and Europe. President Trump says the naval blockade has officially come into effect and has threatened to hit Iranian ships, while also claiming Tehran has made contact and wants a deal. The conversation cautions that if disruption drags on, costs will ripple well beyond the Gulf, with China likely hit first as the main buyer of Iranian crude. In Europe, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced talks this week with France aimed at a diplomatic end to the war, as the EU warns regional instability is widening, including renewed concern about Lebanon. In a separate major political shift, the BBC reports Hungary's Viktor Orbán has been swept from power in a landslide led by Péter Magyar, ending a 16-year era. European leaders are welcoming the result, while Moscow is seen as the clear loser given Orbán's role as a key Putin-aligned voice inside the EU. The conversation notes the defeat may weaken the international momentum of right-wing populism, even if it doesn't end it. On the technological revolution and artificial intelligence, the Financial Times reports Meta is building an AI version of Mark Zuckerberg designed to interact with staff, part of a broader push toward what it calls personal superintelligence. Separately, The Conversation says a new AI superhacker concept is raising alarms because it could automate the discovery of cybersecurity vulnerabilities at scale, accelerating both defensive security testing and offensive exploitation. The takeaway for governments and large organizations is that cyber risk is becoming faster moving and more automated, increasing the premium on patching, monitoring and incident readiness. Turning to Australia, defense and national security are leading the policy agenda. The federal government has announced billions in spending on military drones and other uncrewed systems. Defense Minister Richard Marles says expanding autonomous capabilities will strengthen deterrence and support a sovereign defense industry. The Conversation puts the investment at roughly $12 to $15 billion over the next decade, making uncrewed systems a central feature of the new national defense strategy. SBS also reports Australia's push to build a sovereign missile industry is accelerating, though experts warn supply chain gaps and export constraints could limit true independence. On global conflict spillovers, SBS reports the Prime Minister says he is disappointed US-Iran talks have failed and that Australia has not been asked to help block the Strait of Hormuz. With energy prices and supply risks rising, this remains a key watchpoint for the Australian economy and inflation outlook, even before any second-round impacts on freight and insurance. In Australian government policy, the ABC reports a terminally ill Labor MP living with motor neurone disease is urging the Attorney General to change laws that prevent doctors discussing voluntary assisted dying via telehealth. That debate intersects directly with service delivery and access, particularly for regional Australians. In law enforcement, the ABC reports Fiji police want an Australian on trial linked to the country's largest ever meth bust, with insiders alleging troubling connections to organised crime in Australia. No material updates were provided on the Australian share market in today's items, but the dominant near-term driver to watch is the Hormuz-linked oil shock and its implications for fuel costs, transport, and broader inflation expectations. Locally, monitor any flow-on announcements affecting fuel supply, defense procurement, and health access via telehealth.